Welcome to the Popcorn Talk Network. For the online broadcast network that features movie discussion, news, and interviews, press 1. Popcorn Talk. We talk movies. From the Popcorn Talk Network and producers Maria Menounos, Kevin Undergaro, and Phil Svitek, this is iTalk Movies. Long-form interviews with leading members of the film industry. And now, your host of iTalk Movies.
Hi, everybody. My name is Carrie Lane. Welcome to the Popcorn Talk Network, and we are doing iTalk Movies. I have some awesome guests here with me today. Yes. To my left is Justin Zagri, the director and writer of the new fan film, nonprofit, Harry Potter film. Repeating there, but it is Severus Snape and the Marauders. And next to him is Mick, who plays
Severus Snape.
If you couldn't tell. And next on the list, we got Garrett.
Who played James Potter.
Ooh,
So dramatic, guys.
Trying to say it like you.
It's a dramatic film.
Yes, it is.
pretty
Did you like
serious.
that dramatic
Character names.
intro? You know, it's like exciting.
I did.
All right, so first off, let's get started. So Justin, you had a previous fan film as well
I did.
called The Greater Good.
I did.
And this new film is on a much bigger scale.
Oh, yeah. Big
Yes.
time.
So how would you say those two experiences were in comparison, and what did you learn from the first to the second?
The first one was like, casting some people and then showing up on a beach off-season on a weekday, and hopefully no one will notice us. And then we shoot it, and we have people running around with wands on a beach with little cameras, and and then putting it together later, and everyone going, "Oh my God, how did you do this?" I'm like, 2 guys and a camera. That's about it.
Nice.
And Severus Snape and the Marauders had a crew of like 20 people, and we had to rent the major locations, shoot them at night, and get all the insurance, get all the props, get all the costumes, get everything. Like, it was completely, from a behind-the-scenes point of view, far more legitimate. So.
All right. And you can go watch The Greater Good on YouTube.
Yep.
Yes. That
Do
was
it.
a fun one.
Worth it.
And so for Garrett and Mick, how did you hear about Severus Snape and the Marauders?
Well, for me, I heard about it directly through Justin contacting me on Facebook. Everyone else found the casting notice on this. I did not. Basically, this was after Justin had already seen most of the other actors trying out for the roles, and he was not finding somebody for Snape. So we actually had a mutual friend named Chris Dorman, which I'm totally putting a shout out to, because thank you, Chris. But Justin had a status update out saying, I cannot find somebody who's fit for Snape. If you know any actors out there who look the part of Snape and
can act.
I don't know. That's
But
also
you'd be
huge
surprised.
bonus.
A lot of cosplayers
Huge
are like, "Can I do
bonus.
this?" I'm like, "Can you audition?"
Come in and read.
But yeah, so Justin found me on there and sent me a message, and honestly, like, I didn't know what to expect at first. He just mentions like Harry Potter fan films, so it could be something legitimate. It could be Justin shooting a bunch of us pointing wands at each other in his garage on a really bad green screen.
The first part of that did happen.
Yeah.
I was going to say, I'm pretty
wands.
sure that's what it is, right?
But luckily,
Yeah, that's what I did.
He sent me the script, but he also sent me his first film, which was The Greater Good, and I watched that, and I'm like, okay, this guy obviously knows what he's doing. This isn't just making films for the sake of making just for fun and making films. It's obvious that this guy knows how to make a good film. So, read the script, was really impressed with the script, and then went immediately in for an audition to read that first scene.
Nice.
And it was also a plus that I saved money on wardrobe because.
Oh yeah. He walked in and he's like, "So what kind of ideas do you have in mind for Severus Snape? Because we don't want to do the robe, right?" I'm like, "No, I don't. I want to do what you're wearing."
Perfect. Yeah, no, everything that I was wearing that day was basically exactly what I wear on a Tuesday. So all the better.
Your
for
Tuesdays
us.
are really intimidating, by the way.
I like to keep my Tuesdays. intimidating.
And then
yeah.
Garrett, what about you?
I got an online LA casting, just
Yeah.
like anything else. I read the breakdown and I saw the Marauders, and I was like, oh, is this like a pirate thing, like the Marauders? Not ever imagining or thinking that this would ever be a movie. And so I looked down and it was like James Potter. And I was in a very public place at the time, and I just went, oh, wow! And everyone around me thought that there was an issue. I freaked out. And so I applied, obviously, like you do. You submit to LA Casting, and I went into the audition. Now, I wanted to do this right, okay, this was like my time. I was like, I'm going to do this right. I want to get
Yes.
this. I'll do anything for
All
this.
right.
So at my job,
Yeah.
my regular job where I sell sandwiches or sold sandwiches, I did an English accent for 5 days.
To practice?
To practice,
Nice.
absolutely, 5 days. And it worked on most people. Like 2 or 3 people from England were
Good
like,
test pool. Yeah.
It almost got me fired, which is the worst part. Because my managers were like, they said, we can't take you seriously when you talk to us in an English accent. So if you don't stop, we're going to fire you.
Wow.
So I was like, all right, fair enough. So I went into the audition. I did an English accent the whole time through talking with the assistant to sitting down. And then Paul, one of the other actors, walks in and recognizes me from work. And he's like, Garrett, how's it going, man? And I was like, oh, you're all right, Paul? And he was like, yeah, I'm fine.
That was a great impression of Paul, by the way.
Thanks. I've been working on that I did his accent for weeks. Anyways, so he sits down. I do it with Justin with a complete accent, and I leave. And I remember the assistant was like, is that a real accent? And right as I walked out the door, I said, no. And she was like, I felt so cool. Then the next day, so I get called in for a callback. The next day, I see Justin at a party that I'm not expecting to see him at. We're looking at art or something. And he's like, hey, man, you excited for your callback? And I was like, yeah, definitely. Oh. Yeah.
No, I remember seeing your face. You turned around and you're like, oh, man. Hi,
So-
Justin. I'm like, oh, it's
Busted.
not British. Good for you for trying to fool me. Yeah, that's good, man.
And I was
That's
just
good.
like,
good
yeah,
technique.
no. Dude, I was so close. I would have had it.
Now, you kind of mentioned, Justin, cosplayers like wanting to audition. Did you have any other bizarre stories at all from casting?
Not bizarre. I just had some people who just didn't really understand that I was trying to make a film that takes the characters' writing and story very seriously, and I wanted to find people that weren't being like, I want to be James Potter. It's more like, I want to play this role and portray a character that has an arc, that has something to say, and that really understands who James Potter is, rather than be like, ooh, James Potter, I want to be in a fan film. Like, no. This is trying to be as real
Legit.
as possible. Yeah, it's trying to be real.
Well, that's why so many people were just like, "Oh, have you been working on your Alan Rickman impression?" And I'm just like, nobody wants to hear that.
Nobody. There was like one line where I was like, "That's very Alan Rickman," and then the rest of the time, the movie,
Yeah.
he's his own Snape.
All right, now talking about how serious you are about this project. Now,
Thank
how
God Kevin's not here.
have you all read the books?
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
I read them twice.
All right.
And I did a lot of research reading while I was writing the movie. So I would go back to Order of the Phoenix a lot, Deathly Hallows a lot, and just really dig into these characters and try and figure out who they were, and which was difficult because there's very little information on James Potter. It's mostly speculation.
Right.
And I didn't want to get into fan fiction because that's other people's interpretations. It's not the facts.
Yeah.
And mine is an interpretation now. So we'll see how people feel about whether or not they see it as James. But I wanted to pick an actor who portrayed James as I saw him as kind of like a very charming and really nice jock kind of guy. But only the
I'll take it.
only the jock who bullied people that he didn't like, that he really didn't like,
Okay.
that he felt threatened by. Especially with this movie, James Potter has a very specific arc. So
You're one.
I know.
We are
Yeah.
one.
Yeah.
Finally.
Can we do another take, James?
Absolutely, of course. I'm so excited.
And then actually kind of talking about that, in the books, generally the Marauders are kind of not necessarily good characters 100%. They're kind of bullies. How did you approach that within the filmmaking?
It was Snape was also a bit of a mystery as well. Like the Marauders are mysteries because we didn't see them except from Remus's point of view when he's an adult, Sirius's point of view when he's an adult, Peter Pettigrew after he'd become a traitor, and then of course we never saw James, but we only saw James. What kind of people James and Lily were from a memory from when they appeared as ghosts, and that's it. Everything else was speculation, or people remembering or choosing to remember. Like Remus would openly admit that James was a bit of a troublemaker, and Sirius kind of neglected mentioning that until Harry saw it. Now, I always love this line where in the Order of the Phoenix, after Harry saw the memory, he's like, how could you do that to Snape? And he was like, we were 15. And Harry goes, I'm 15. What's wrong with you? So I wanted to make sure that the Marauders were really lovable, charismatic, and relatable people until they saw Snape.
Right.
And then they
that's-
become much more the characters that you saw in Snape's worst memory.
Right.
And that's been one of the biggest concerns, I think, for a lot of people is because there is such a split of people who are like on the Marauders side or on the Snape side.
Yeah.
They're very polarizing characters. So people are worried it's like, oh, this is just going to demonize the Marauders, or oh, this is just going to demonize Snape. And the truth is that this film doesn't do either.
Right.
This is, kind of an outsider's look at these young kids right out of school
Right.
who are making some very, very poor decisions. And they're all doing it for the reasons that they themselves feel are,
Justified.
helping everybody. Yeah, justifying.
Yeah, they feel that's the right thing to do.
Yeah, so nobody in this film, as far as Snape and the Marauders are concerned, are the villains or the bad guys. It's
Right.
just everyone who's caught in this really complicated situation that is right before the biggest war that this
Wizarding
community
kind has
ever
had,
seen.
yeah.
So
Right.
tensions are very high for everybody.
Yeah.
Tensions are high for this entire wizarding community. So these are just these people who we remain pretty neutral on in this very tense situation.
Right, and when
Yeah.
James justifies why he wants to confront Snape, they are legitimate justifications. In the back of his mind, he's doing it for reasons that are relatively selfish, but the things he's bringing up in the film as to why he wants to do it are perfectly legitimate.
Yeah. Now, Garrett, how was that experience as an actor trying to, put justification behind the actions of this character?
It was really fun. That's the kind of stuff that I love. The one thing that I do want to say and make sure that it gets mentioned is the reason I did this isn't just because I love Harry Potter, but the script itself isn't about like Harry Potter fans being so happy to be fans in this movie. It's like an actual story about people confronting issues that you have to confront, growing up, making decisions for yourself away from your parents or the people that raised you, like actually standing up for what you yourself think is right. So tying into what you said, justifying the reasons to attack Snape, for me, it came down to what am I willing to do for the people I love? Like, what would I do to protect somebody that means the world to me? And my answer is I do anything. And I think that's where I kind of found my in for James, is like he would do anything for his friends, for Lily, because these people are his family, and he's, Snape is getting into the dark arts. He's joining the wrong side, and he's shown that he's going to join the wrong side. So James wouldn't just sit around and let that happen. I wouldn't just sit around and let someone I love get into a place or relationship with someone who I thought was dangerous.
But there is a somewhat unspoken reason as to why you also want to confront him, is that you don't just feel threatened by Snape for the sake of your friends and Lily's protection. You feel like you want to attack Snape for the sake of the fact of their relationship.
Yes,
There is
absolutely.
a selfish motive there.
Oh, of course there is.
Yeah.
I mean, I was just sort of sugarcoating it for the internet.
Well, yeah.
Oh,
I
no,
mean,
speak freely.
Honestly, like, James doesn't like getting beaten at anything.
Yeah.
Quidditch, spells, like he's the best at everything. He doesn't like to get beaten. And Lily is something he never really gets a grip on and understands. He's always trying to muss his hair to look good in front of her. He doesn't quite know the right pieces to make her fall in love with him. And Snape does. He just talks openly, and they even though Snape is really callous to her at some points, she and him have like a relationship that he just envies. Snape is so easy around her, and he doesn't have that. So part of it is to protect and to love, and that's where I got into it. But there's also the jealousy part, that everybody knows what it's like to be jealous. So those were the two doors that I used to get into the character, and it was awesome. It was so fun.
Nice. And then for the actors also, what was the, do you feel you relate to your characters, and was it hard to kind of step into the shoes? I know you already kind of talked about it a little bit, but Garrett, but a little bit more of filling that role. What was that experience like?
I was definitely able to relate with a lot of the things that Snape went through in school. Like I didn't have a very easy time in middle school, and actually, honestly used the Harry Potter books as a huge escape for a lot of the, my own bullying and, kind of the nasty stuff that I got, that I got dealt with in school. So I understood Severus's frustrations and how difficult that was to go through that. I could definitely sympathize with that. I think the biggest difference is how you walk away from that and the decisions you make walking away from it. And I found other support structures, and I found other things to get involved in to take my mind off of the situations I was dealing with in school. The problem with Snape is that the one thing that he had, the only positive thing that he had in this entire thing that made school bearable was Lily. So the only person who we've ever established he had any real friendship with or any real connection with. And as we know, if we've read the books, he loses that. He makes a horrible mistake. He lets his frustrations and anger take hold of him, loses control, and ruins that relationship. So I understood like what it would have been like for me to have lost that that extra thing that kept me sane in school, and then to be left with nothing but the ridicule and nothing but the abuse. And that's where this story starts. This entire
And influence
story.
from bad people.
Yeah, exactly. And
Yeah.
then
Bad people.
Which again, for him, and it was not him. It's like, oh, I'm going to turn evil. I'm going to go to the dark side. It was for him. He had felt so beaten upon by everything around him, this authority, the status quo, all of his peers, that when Voldemort is rising and all these people around him are starting to get together, it's not necessarily like, oh, we're going to go evil. It's, oh, we're going to create this alternative to this situation you feel so beaten down upon. I don't think any
Which
of them
again
are
is the
just-
justification.
Yeah,
it
again,
is
the
evil.
justification
The
there.
actions are evil, but again, it's justification, and I think that's one of the major themes of this movie. The themes are maturity and justification. Yeah. Not to say that there isn't a really cool, fun duel in there, because
Dude,
it's
there's
not just
so
some
fun.
soap opera.
Yeah.
It's just maturity and justification.
Yeah,
it's
it's
just
just people
talking
talking.
over mugs.
This is we're only talking about this to justify the fact that we spent 3 days in the forest waving sticks at each other in the coolest ways.
Now it sounds like you all had a horrible time. Did you guys have a
Terrible.
fun time filming?
God, it was the worst. Hanging out with these cool guys.
These guys were having the time of their lives. These guys were having so much fun.
It was
These
great.
guys would be sitting there between takes, chatting away about how awesome everything is and all these different things, while I was brooding and losing my mind because the weather report for the last day of shooting was in LA, torrential downpour. This was
That's not very often.
No, it's not at all.
We got the one day of rain that LA
Okay.
Of
would
20
ever see.
Yeah. And I was not a happy camper that last day.
Dude,
We
you
were
weren't even
already
a
behind.
camper. You were just like you weren't even camping at that point.
No,
Justin was
I wasn't.
freaking out, and we were all in the corner like, oh, look how mad Justin is. It's hilarious.
Ah, poor guy.
This movie might not happen, guys. It still managed to work out. We were behind the first day. The second day, we changed some stuff and we caught up. The third day, I just did the only thing I could is I planned to get what we could done, and we had to move a lot faster. And I remember a couple people kind of passively saying, "I wish I had another take." I'm like, "We don't have time for another take." We did a lot of rehearsal, and you guys are on point. You guys are on your game. You'll be fine. And luckily, at midnight, the sky completely cleared, and we worked for 5 hours straight, nonstop. I mean, that's nothing.
No, these were-
Let's talk 18 hours straight for films, but like it was an incredibly intense 5 hours.
This was literally us shooting from I think we started like 4
4
p.m.
to
to
4.
like 5 like 4 or 5 a.m.
Yep.
How many days of shooting was it?
It was 4 total, 3 in the forest, 1 in the bar.
All right. And then how long is the full length, or how long is the film?
Without credits, it's 23 minutes.
All right, that's a pretty solid short film for
Yeah.
sure.
And honestly, it was not that I've had many bad experiences, but this was, and I'm not just saying this, one of the best experiences I've had shooting anything. Not just chemistry with castmates, we had so much fun.
So
with
much.
this.
I was.
It was
That
awesome.
was one of the reasons why the Marauders were cast, is because their chemistry. When I put them all 4 together in a room and let them talk and I let them ad lib, I was just so utterly impressed by their chemistry.
And you did, I must say, you can't ignore the fact that you really found people that look believably like those characters when they're younger. It's really, we'll show the trailer, and it's just one of those, it's uncanny that you go, yeah, I can see that. I think that's a good job on the casting on that one.
The best is Sirius Black, Kevin Allen, who I wish you could be here, but he was so like, oh, I don't look like this character, but literally he shows up to the costuming in like this cool 70s like jacket that's got this like awesome embroidery I've never seen before in my life. And he's like, I just don't think I'm cool enough for this. And I'm like, I don't even know where you got that.
Yeah,
you look so awesome.
He and Paul, like Paul is like the polar opposite of his character, and Kevin is the polar opposite.
Actually, I was going to say, we
character.
have a picture of the wardrobe. If we can pull up that, there's a sketch. And I do love the intricacy that went into the character ideas and their wardrobe.
Yeah.
The costuming was
That was
awesome.
the costuming was done by a wonderful woman named Leetal Platt. I've been friends with her for
Leetal.
years, and she was initially going to be a filmmaker, but then changed her mind entirely and decided to get into fashion design.
Oh, look at
and
that.
All
she,
right, yeah,
yeah, there
look
we
at
go. She drew the clothes, and then we went to thrift stores and found stuff. And I love watching these guys put on their clothes.
Oh, they're
I remember
gorgeous.
Garrett putting on his stuff and being like, I feel powerful. I feel really good. And I'm like, then that's your costume. That's what you're going to wear.
Perfect.
It was in a skirt and high heels, and I felt really weird about it, but we let it go.
And Leetal's instincts
get used to it, it
were
gets better.
so right on, picking out stuff and trying to find stuff. And she actually built a cloak for another character. And she's so talented that she was part of the Hot Topic contest for Comic-Con
Oh, okay. Yeah,
2015, and she won.
Nice.
She won, and she got a contract with Hot Topic.
And actually, well, let's go to the poster images for each of the characters, because these also just the work that's went into the posters. I think it's top notch.
Another shout out, Janie Walter. I did a fan art contest where I said if you win, you get to have a cameo on the roll no matter where you live, because we had
right, so
we had moving paintings. Yeah, there's James.
We got James Potter.
Look at that guy.
You should start from.
Let's go to the next one.
Yeah, that's fine.
We'll just go in order.
Okay.
Then we got Lily.
Lily, who's shining because Lily is the only character in this
perfect.
film who's
Glowing.
like.
Yeah.
Doesn't is
Yeah.
a terrible person.
Everyone else is kind of a crappy
Right, and
person
then
in some way
next-
except Lily.
Oh, there's
Okay.
Peter. Yeah.
Huge shout out to Zach for this, because all of our characters, like we talked a little bit about how it's polarizing. You know, there are
Yeah.
people who like love or hate these characters, but there aren't exactly a lot of people out there who are just like, God, I love Peter Pettigrew so much, such a misunderstood character, and yet Zach
wouldn't
comes into
be
this and
surprised.
brings this endearing and
Oh,
like
he's
in some
adorable
moments
and
so
hilarious.
good.
Oh, and it was such a great. His transition, not transition, but like hint at him becoming who he becomes, which I had fun writing.
Yeah.
Have him going from like A to B.
Yep.
And he owned it so well.
Nice.
It's so
he became
subtle.
we got Remus
yeah, we got
up.
Oh,
Remus.
look at
Yeah.
him.
Again, Paul is a phenomenal actor, and I was so impressed
Yeah.
by him every step of the way. And he is the polar opposite of his character. He's like, "Hey guys, what's going on? This is so much fun! Action! Some might fight with us."
Yeah,
Dude.
Take a look
All
at this
right.
poster right now. This man's rap album is about to drop.
Oh yeah, that's right. He's a rapper.
Keep
All right.
keep that in mind.
No, seriously, he's a rapper.
And then next we have.
Oh, yeah.
Oh yeah,
Sirius Black.
Sirius. He looks
Look at
great
him.
now too.
Which again, like it radiates cool, and
Yeah.
Kevin doesn't think he's cool enough to play this
He
character.
almost has a Cowboy Bebop vibe.
Yes. Oh my God, I would cast him as Spike Spiegel in a second.
That
In a
hair
second.
and like his body type. And
Yes.
then I think the last one we got Mick as yours. Yeah.
Yep.
Look at him.
Facing the other direction.
And the really cool thing about all these posters is that when you get all of them and you put them all together, it's one long image.
Nice.
It's
Very
all,
creative.
it's all the same forest, and that's why you see like these rays of light on
Yeah.
the left side and get James Potter's on the right side. It's because Lily's in the middle.
Ah.
And I wanted to drop something a little bit about us dueling.
Sure.
Because a really cool
Oh,
thing
yes.
happened when Garrett and I were both kind of practicing and kind of developing our fighting styles.
Yeah.
We didn't really talk about this initially. We didn't initially like kind of sync this up, but without talking to each other, Garrett's movements were very bold and aggressive.
Yeah, very
and,
forced.
Very like intimidating force.
Yeah.
Like we had these opposite styles because we were basing it on a lion and a snake.
Okay.
And
Yeah.
which is of course like
remember
Gryffindor
that.
versus Slytherin. And it becomes very apparent we were actually watching the videos without talking to each other. It's like, oh, this is like we have these complete opposite styles that we were looking at that work perfectly for this battle between
Yeah.
Gryffindor and
Yeah.
Slytherin.
And I wrote in the duel that Snape does more dodging and bobbing and weaving than he does blocking. He's like he's good. He's just as good as anticipating spells and making sure he gets out of the way as he is as blocking things, which to me is he's
Actually, let's
fluid.
speak of that. Let's look at the trailer, and we're going to talk about it while we're watching it.
Okay, cool.
Oh, yes.
Awesome.
So feel free to jump in, boys, with
Mystery
your
Science
comments.
Theater.
Yeah.
So the beginning, I do think, opens very dramatic. We get this
The beginning is
started.
actually an idea that I had in post production of where he is reminiscing on his worst memory, which makes it into the film at another
the fact
point.
that he exists.
Yeah.
Yeah,
You make your choice, and I make mine.
yeah, it's
And
just
it's
I
like-
watched the subtitles just recently. I'm like, oh, that's mean.
Dude, this music's so good.
Look at our-
oh that matte painting. I want to plug that matte painting
we'll
later.
talk about that too.
Yeah.
Okay, the lighting in this. The
Oh,
lighting in this
so
bar,
good.
which
Yeah,
is
the
just
color.
this
John
pub
Hafner, the
in
DP,
Pasadena.
the color correction.
Yeah.
He's a beast.
I'm just too into watching this. I'm not
Oh
even
my
saying
God,
anything.
Okay,
We have-
let's focus. All right.
Stay away from
All right,
Lily.
now we're getting ready to do a fight.
Stay away
Yep.
from Lily for the rest of your life.
You guys are playing tug of war with this poor lady.
Well, she's very
Oh.
pretty.
Oh, she
And those
handles them.
effects are so amazing.
Thank you. They're not mine, but thank you.
Well, it's on your project.
Yeah.
Dramatic
One last
monologue.
row would solve everything.
Lily not having any of this crap that we're putting together.
Dude,
Yeah,
no
she-
crap. She's having none
She's
of it.
like, no.
Man, we really hated each other.
And then
Look at your face. Look at your
What do you
face. Ah,
So
no, I
dramatic.
love this shot of Garrett coming up.
We're not gonna hurt him. We're just gonna scare him. Of course we are.
I'm so lying.
And then me like, oh
You're like,
crap.
uh-oh.
Yeah, and I can't wait to show you guys what he's looking
Yeah, what
at.
they're working
Oh,
at right now
man.
is insane.
Nice.
Um,
And we saw a release date, but you want to say the release date for the project as well?
Yeah, March 1st.
All right.
March 1st.
March 1st.
Okay, and then you mentioned the matte painting. Let's
Yeah,
talk
the matte,
about that.
Just real quick, the matte painting, I commissioned a guy, his name is Brian Morton. He did some matte paintings on another film that I was working on, and I was really impressed. And I
Oh
said,
yeah, it looks gorgeous in that shot.
yeah, I said, would you be willing to do this? And he said yes. And it took him a while for him to get it to me because he's a very busy guy. He works full time at a graphics marketing studio. And a couple months go by, and I'm like, hey, how's it going? Do you think you could have it by mid-November? Because I want to put it in the trailer. He's like, yeah, I'll get it to you. By the way, deadlines work. When it's vague, people are slow. When you give deadlines, they move.
Good suggestion for all you filmmakers out there.
Yeah, seriously.
Seriously.
And he says, "Yeah, I'm sorry, man. I'm working 14-hour days at my job right now. I'm like, as a graphic designer, okay." And then the Star Wars Episode 7 poster comes out, and he's the designer.
Oh, you know.
Yeah,
No big deal.
No big.
He was really busy, Justin, on other projects. Why don't you give him a break?
And then Justin Angley called him, and it's like, look, if you can put up like aside this little sci-fi film you're working on and get back to our friggin' fan film.
Oh, that fantasy.
Like,
Come on,
it's
fantasy better,
priorities,
right? Come on.
man. Just come
Yeah.
on.
Yeah, seriously. Thank you.
And then also bigger than the previous film, you had an orchestra.
Yeah,
part
we
of your
do.
project?
That
We
was
do.
so
We do have an
cool.
orchestra.
That was probably one of
you know,
one of the biggest moments for me.
I
with
just
that
want to
work.
say,
Oh my
I just
God,
want to
I
say
was-
something. We finished this movie, right? We had a great time. We all bonded. We all leave, and we all start doing our own things. And we get calls from Justin, and odd hours. Things like, "Hey, guess what? The matte painter worked on Star Wars." Matte painter? What? Never mind. I'll talk to you later. Okay, bye. Oh, hey, guess what? We got an orchestra in Hungary to do our score. Where? In what? Okay, bye.
Which they
okay.
streamed live.
Yeah,
by the
I
way.
got
They
to listen to
streamed
it
that
live.
recording
Oh,
live.
wow.
This is my music composer Alexander Arnson. He's like, "Hey, listen, man, I want to take this to the next level." I'm like, "What do you mean?" It's like you got individual artists to do some of the instruments. He's like, "Yeah, but I want the ending credits to be a full orchestra." I'm like, what? I can't afford that. He's like, "No, don't worry about it. It's like it's in Hungary, and it's less money than you think. It's still kind of a bit of money, but I'm like, how much?" And he tells me, I'm like, "Oh, I can do that."
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
How do you say no to that? You're like,
No.
Yes.
Yeah. And he sets up the live stream,
Yeah.
and I just hear everyone speaking in Hungarian getting started, and then they start playing, and I was about to cry. I was blown away. I could not believe it was happening.
Now, Mick and Garrett, what were your reactions to the trailer when you first saw it?
I love the reaction.
So
Yours is
okay.
my favorite.
Okay, so like we all got together at my place, like to watch on my TV. 'Cause we were signing posters as well for like for this event, and
You all just wanted to hang out.
Justin was just to hang out as well. But Justin was literally editing it on the fly, getting this stuff together at the last minute. So we all get together on the couch and we watch it, and the minute it starts up and we see how gorgeous this thing looks, we are literally spazzing out on my couch. We are
They
like,
all were.
we're like screaming, we're like just shaking like
It was amazing. It was
No,
yeah.
this like I fully expected Kevin to freak out because he freaks out at everything. You had your jaw dropped, and Zach was like, "Wow, that's really cool." That's the most excited Zach gets
ever.
But this guy over here, who's usually pretty modest about everything, he was like this. He was like about to have a panic attack or something.
The very first
Man.
thing. I mean, the opening shot was cool because we didn't quite know what to expect for him to do that because that was a later edition. But the minute we see that map painting, and we see because that exterior shot is like in a crappy part of Pasadena,
And an okay part of Pasadena.
an okay part
I hang
of
out there
Pasadena.
sometimes.
No offense to the Black Boar, it was cool. It was
No. I mean, the Black Boar is awesome, but it's not that.
Yeah.
And the fact that we didn't shoot it on green screen, that they literally rotoed all these people out to like place the shot in place. Like
Shout out to Amy.
Yeah, right away we couldn't believe that was a scene in this film we were doing. It was so beyond anything we were.
I mean,
expecting.
okay, I guess if you can imagine this internet world, you work on this movie, you get to rehearse with these fun people, you wave sticks around in the forest for 3 days, and then you go away for months, and you think about life and all the things you're going to do and moving and all that stuff, and then you come back and you watch the second trailer for this movie, and you're like, okay, we'll see how this goes. And it opens on a shot of, Hogsmeade and the castle of Hogwarts. And you're just like, was this the same movie where we were in the forest with the sticks? And you're like, yeah, no, it's the same one. And then you watch yourself in this performance, and it's like, wow,
And then we get to the forest with the sticks, and the sticks are doing really, really cool things now. It looks way cooler than when we saw on camera.
I was going to
and
ask, how was that experience waving sticks around?
They were into it.
was awesome.
They might as well have been making the sounds.
I was making
sounds.
noises a few
There you go.
times.
Yeah.
Did you have to yell at them of like, quiet, please?
No,
No.
they were fine.
Oh,
But
good.
They were so in character. They didn't think it was silly. They were loving every minute of it.
It was magical, man. You guys
No
are
pun
See what you
intended.
did there.
I was really trying to be endearing, and I was like, I just made a pun. You guys are honestly in good hands. Like, if you like Harry Potter, if you like movies in general, like, this is just worth it. It's going to be 23 minutes well spent.
If you
it's
like looking
awesome.
at cool things,
This is a cool thing you can look at for free.
What have been the reactions by Harry Potter fans?
Mostly positive.
Good.
Say like 95%
overwhelmingly
positive.
Yeah.
Now, we heard some
Mostly
mention of hair. There were complaints or concerns?
Well,
I have an answer for this on the website, but I don't even need that answer anymore because J.K. Rowling gave me one. So I picked Garrett because he was great for the role. He was so good for the role, and he
Yeah.
But look at
had
this.
such.
You try to mess it up.
Let's
like,
not talk
look,
about the
it
hair
goes
for a
right
second
back.
because it doesn't matter.
it's like poking a bear.
All right, well, another special effects thing. We have some behind-the-scenes photos of
Look at that.
the paintings, yes? Or the... what were
yeah,
the-
I
they're
think
the
so. I think
paintings,
yeah.
So we got this first one that's right under the wardrobe photo there. Yep. So we got some green screen. And why don't you talk about this a little bit,
This
Justin, real
makes
quick?
me so
well, that's-
happy, this photo.
That's Brandon. How do you say his last name?
Brandon Lacroix.
Brandon Lacroix. He designed 2 of the wands for the film,
Okay.
and he was very ecstatic to play Godric Gryffindor.
I couldn't wait to call Brandon to see if he wanted to, because it wasn't a matter of asking if he
See
wanted to. It
if
was
he
tell him,
wanted
it's
to,
like,
yeah.
hey, Brandon, you're
When.
going to be Godric Gryffindor.
Yeah.
And he kind of shrieked like a little girl.
Yeah.
And like was immediately, because we know makeup artists and stuff like that at the
Yeah.
school we work at. So he's just like, Justin was, his beard should be a little fuller. And it's like, we can add a beard easily.
Yeah.
Like, add a beard, add
Nice.
this stuff. So Brandon could not wait to get like in
Yeah.
that. He swag the wardrobe, everything.
Anna Brisbane is playing Rowena Ravenclaw, and she has a big YouTube channel called Brizzy Voices, who has over 1 million subscribers, and she does voice impressions of all kinds of things. So she's the big deal on YouTube. And I asked her to do it, and she's like, yeah. I'm like, sweet. Michael Reed plays Salazar Slytherin, and Ilea plays Helga Hufflepuff. And I had fun. When I thought of Helga Hufflepuff, everyone thinks of like this kind of plump woman who loves to eat. I'm like, let's do the total opposite. Let's do something a little more interesting. Someone who looks like kind of meek and smaller. And because I always kind of had fun about if I made another fan film, which I'm not, this last one, that I would do like just a dinner table conversation with the Marauders. I'm sorry, with the founders.
We're in your brain now
With the
forever.
founders. And they would Salazar and Gryffindor would get into a fight, and then Hufflepuff Helga would just use a really powerful piece of magic and prove herself to be the most powerful wizard of them all, despite the fact that she's this tiny little girl.
All right, then we got another photo. There's
Yay.
you
Look
with
at
your
that.
cast.
Aw.
Yay. Same
Nice.
sweater too.
Look at that sweater.
I
Then
love
we
this
got
thing.
one more. Got a cool black and white one. You behind the scenes.
Yeah, I was just I had a lot of fun talking to them about it. Like the entire scene is MOS. You're not going to hear them talk, but I gave them a basic scenario,
And we kind of came up with this fun idea because the person who brought in all the props and created the costumes, Alfie Baker, she came with this little castle with these 2 bottles in it and shot glasses.
Oh, that's cool.
It was so cool. And initially I was going to have them playing chess, but I forgot the chessboard because I'm an idiot. And she brought this, and I'm like, this is perfect because the painting takes place in a bar, so they should be drinking. And I was like, it would be really funny if they, as they're drinking, they're getting more and more drunk. And then I said, like, what if you guys got, like, drunk enough that, like, your drunk people, like, started making the castle bigger and bigger and bigger until it was Hogwarts? And then they're like, oh, I guess we should do something with this.
Wow.
That's awesome.
So essentially, there's this whole mini movie.
Yeah.
Going on
Apparently, yes.
in our
Yes.
movie.
Well, I wanted them to have
Can't
good
wait to
conversation
see it.
between each other, and then
Yeah.
of course they react to everything that actually happens in the movie.
Oh, perfect.
Yeah, they have real reactions. So
Nice.
Yeah.
Oh yes, I like this photo. This
that
is
was
a nice...
fan art. That was fan art done by Janie Walter.
Yeah.
I like
and I
it.
found it, and I said, "Do you want to do the real stuff?" And of course, she said
So
yes.
dramatic.
We flipped over this because
It looks so cool.
It's so much better than the poster we had put together initially.
Kickstarter, yeah.
which was really just like it was just us on black.
Right.
It was us on black. It was like there wasn't really weren't any interesting things done to it or anything like that. It's like we were rushed on time. We did a very very simple poster.
Right.
So when Jenny presented this and like we saw this with like actual some intense magic going on, it totally looks like the Deathly Hallows posters, like those
Yeah.
really intense ones.
Yeah, it's really cool.
We're just like, no, you're not just getting a cameo. You're on the film. You're on the.
It's
crew.
like
You're
getting
hired.
out of the car you had in high school and getting into a Lamborghini.
Nice.
Interesting analogy. I like it.
Now,
Unless
kind
the car in
of,
high school you had was a Lamborghini. Whatever.
yeah. Kind of going back a little bit and talking about how much, planning was involved, because it's very elaborate. The posters, everything. How much was done as pre-planning to the filming, and was there any special prep you had to do before this one?
I plan as much as possible. I storyboarded the entire movie. I had the entire movie scripted, but left room for them to ad-lib. So the first 3 minutes of the scene in the bar is the Marauders ad-libbing. I let them come up with their own story on the spot because of their chemistry. If it weren't for their chemistry, I wouldn't have done that. And when I got this great quote from James Gunn, who's extremely public on his Facebook about his career and his whole life, and actually responds to just random fans. He responded to me one time.
Because James Gunn is awesome.
James Gunn is awesome. I just asked him a question about how many sit-ups he gets done in a day, and he responded to me. And he's like, I get 35, and that's the most of any Marvel movie. I'm like, awesome. But he says...
Now I just want to see him and Joss Whedon do sit-ups against each other.
Joss Whedon would lose. But no, he's just... James Gunn's in good shape. Anyways, I check out James Gunn all the time on Facebook.
Oh, there it is.
James Gunn said that the better you prep a movie, the more you prep a movie, the more room you have to let things happen that are unexpected. Now, not every director works that way. Some people rely on the unexpected. Some people don't even bother trying, and that's either out of because they're so good that they know the flow of a movie, or they're just not good at all.
Yeah.
Depends on how it turns out. But he said that he prepares everything way ahead of time, and he knows exactly what he's doing. He's got it all in his head, and by the time I'm on a set, I've got the shot list memorized, and to the point of where if we're short on time, which happens every time,
Of course.
then I know what shots we don't need,
Got it.
or I can start improvising and trying new things.
Which is why it was so comfortable for us on set, because when we ran into huge issues of like rain and all this stuff that doesn't usually happen, we as the actors never really had to worry. And that's huge. Usually you're sitting there watching people argue, and then you're like, okay, well, I guess I'll go sit down for a while.
Yeah, I don't put up with that on
Yeah,
set.
he was
I
like,
do
all
not
right,
argue.
you guys-
Creative arguments are fine. I had creative arguments with the DP on a shot, and he won, and he was right.
And it looks great.
It looks great. But if it's arguments that are meant to be, when the day's over, then I don't have them. And some people have accused me of being rude because they would start.
I also have to say,
But-
like, with a lot of the unexpected obstacles we faced, like with the rain, with the short amount of time, we shot most of those scenes chronologically. Like I think almost everything chronologically.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
I
In,
shot
in a scene that gets progressively more and more tense.
Now, did
and
that help
complicated. Very
Absolutely.
for
complicated.
the actors? Did that help to have
Well, what I-
shoot in chronological order?
I shot chronologically because it made sense.
Yeah.
The first scene we shot was the bar, and then the rest of the movie is in a forest. So there's only 2 locations. When you have a larger film, you shoot based on what's practical and what's available. And that's why I also think rehearsal is very important, because when the actors go into a new scene, I don't have to tell them where they are and what they're doing and how they're feeling. They already know. That's also why I rehearse, and that's another piece of prep. But when I shot the fight scene, I shot it with the strategy in mind of the first day and a half, I shot the side with all the Marauders, and then the second day, I shot all of Snape.
Okay,
And then the third day was after the fight.
got it.
And yeah, so by that time, I was definitely feeling those nights, and was definitely more exhausted, definitely more tense, because my wardrobe did not include a coat. And it was,
Nobody's wardrobe. I mean, yours did.
I
That's
picked
it.
out a coat first.
Yeah.
Garrett was
Smart.
Pre-planning.
toasty. I had like this thin collared shirt on with a vest, so
Everyone had
torso was
cute
relatively
onesies in between
warm,
takes.
But
You could sneak some long underwear under that, maybe.
That's true. You never did go
I
the long underwear route, did you?
I had the long pants underneath, but it was showing through the shirt, and I couldn't do it.
You could cut out a V-neck of it.
Dude,
I
she should have
wasn't
been there.
thinking
Just
that-
saying.
You are having issues.
I am always
I
cold,
wish
so I
I-
have figured out ways to layer
I
up.
wish you were on set with us because I was freezing
like, "By
on
the
set,
way."
but it worked. It completely worked because I was.
Because that
I
would
was
add to your
so,
like tension.
Yeah, it was. It was kind of like like the taking a cold shower to get into that like really aggressive mode, and I'm haven't seen the shot, but I'm hoping it paid off.
Just makes you
because,
more grumpy.
Yeah, I was not happy.
Although you haven't lived until you've seen an angry Snape in the most adorable blanket you can imagine.
Yeah.
Like between takes.
Wait, everyone
I
had
was-
little cute onesies and
I
quilts.
was a very angry Snape burrito.
You were. That was a very angry burrito, absolutely.
Nice. Well, you've already kind of mentioned problems that you encountered and got past. Were there any particular funny stories from set?
I think he has one.
I like the giggle right away.
Nope, I just like to giggle.
Okay.
Man, no, I don't really have anything. It's just,
I mean, like I had a lot to choose from when we were ad-libbing.
Sure.
Several of the outtakes will include people dropping their wands because they kept screwing around with them.
yeah.
Yeah.
Now, Sirius, that's his job, but he kept dropping it, and I bought 3 wands for him because he broke
Jeez,
one.
that was so
He
bad.
broke 2 during the fighting, and then the third one, I bought one with like a metal core, so he just couldn't break it.
It's a challenge then.
And
Yeah, he was
you guys
accepted the
you guys had a bit of a moment.
Oh yeah, no. If you notice, there is one shot in the trailer where James tackles me to the ground.
Yeah.
We're like fighting, and we're in the moment. We are like really like fighting each other with like trying to get this
Sure.
wand away
Yeah.
from me, and then we both hear this crack,
like,
and
we both, our eyes just get wide.
we know it's like. It probably was only half a second, but it's
Yeah.
a slow motion of Garrett and I both looking at each other like, oh crap, the wand's about
Time
to
slowed down.
pour
Because I
in.
was like, if I've broken like mixed leg, like is something really
Y'all, I heard
wrong?
a crack. What is it?
No,
And then-
the thing is,
that reminds
I
me of another
could
one.
get a new leg, but we
But
only
the-
had the one wand.
Right,
So,
yeah.
I still have that one. It's got a crack right through the middle.
So one more obstacle that wasn't an obstacle because it was only lasted a few minutes, but it was really scary. Is the Steadicam operator who was responsible for 75% of the duel.
Okay.
I wanted most of it to be on Steadicam.
Okay.
He's awesome. by the
His
way.
name is Thor, and he
Coolest
looks
guy
just like Chris
ever.
Hemsworth
and yes, he does refer to his Steadicam, which looks like a hammer.
as
That's the
Mjolnir.
word.
Perfect.
Yes.
He's
Yeah.
also an amazing DJ.
Yes, yes, he is, and he was
Thor's
so
a man of
awesome.
many talents.
So two Thor stories. The first is when we're about to shoot, I hear ah, and I look over and it's Thor holding his knee and in a lot of pain. And
no.
I'm like, "Are you okay?" He's like, "No, man, my knee." I'm like, "Oh my god, the movie's done. The movie's over." But then he walks it off and he's
You
fine.
worry about him, but the movie's first. Like the movie.
Oh God, the
I'm just
movie's
kidding.
over. Are you dead, Thor?
Well, I was like, "Well, we're insured, so he'll be fine." But
There you go.
the movie is not.
Yes,
So
He was fine. And then the other Thor story is Thor's so good at his job that when he feels like he has an opportunity to do something cool with the camera, he does it. And normally when people do that on my set, I don't like it because they just do something I didn't ask for and it doesn't work. And I had something very particular in mind. But he knew what I wanted and understood what I was going for. And there were times when he would do it where I'd be like, oh, that was cool. That was a cool idea. And then I'd enhance on it. And I love it when that happens, when people have ideas above mine and then make changes or add a little extra. So there's a shot near the end of the duel where the camera's pushing in on Snape and he's getting more and more and more and more and more angry until he explodes and he screams and the camera jumps up to follow him. And then he's supposed to like breathe, calm down, and then turn and walk out of camera.
Okay.
So Thor moves the camera like this as he's coming down. And because of the lens it's on, it looked incredibly epic. And as soon as Snape turns his face, it was the biggest money shot of the movie, and it was never intended.
I think that's like the first shot that we saw.
Oh, in the first trailer, wasn't it?
It's the last shot of the teaser
That's
trailer.
right.
Got it.
And the first shot that we saw, we went back to Justin's place, just looking like footage.
So looking at our
and
dailies,
we're just
yeah.
like, whoa, that's
right.
insane. But it's also those I've been on films that have been like $1-2 million features. And I can honestly say that this crew on this one, like this DP and his crew, were more on top of their stuff than like features I've worked on that have like significantly more budget than we had.
Nice.
And that was one of the most impressive things about it, was just how on top of it they were, and all these great shots, and like just how amazing everything was looking for a film that has the budget of like maybe the catering of a feature.
For a feature, yeah.
All right, we are getting low on time, but real quick, why, Justin, did you pick this story to tell?
Well, I did Greater Good, and I said I could do better. I was very proud of Greater Good, but I learned so much from it, and I'm like, I want to try again.
Nice.
And I didn't know what story I wanted to do, so I put out a poll, and I had like several choices based on popular things in Harry Potter, and everyone wanted to see Marauders. And I was like, oh, Marauders, huh? Well, Snape's like my second favorite character, and you don't have the Marauders without Snape from a story point of view.
Right.
So I said, well, what would be cool? What would be an interesting storyline? And I was like, and then I asked myself, what are my limitations? I don't have a castle.
Not yet.
Getting them in uniform is going to be difficult. And why would I have them in uniform if they're not in the castle?
Sure.
So I was like, what could I do? Well, what if they just graduated? Okay, what are they doing after they just graduate? Well, aren't they about to go into a war? Snape's part of that war. The Marauders are part of that war. So they should confront each other. Yeah. So it was
Nice. And actually, speaking kind of that, we, for the fans, took a poll. If you tweet at us, it's at the Popcorn Talk, and the hashtag
Popcorn
is
Talk.
It's Snape and the Marauders.
Snape Marauders.
Snape Marauders on Twitter. We do have signed posters by the cast available.
do.
We'll figure out a way to get
Yes,
that to
we
you.
do.
So tweet at us.
Tweet
and
it.
then why don't we finish off by where people can find you and in general what you have coming up next? Justin?
My Twitter is jzagri, J-Z-A-G-R-I. You can see everything you need to know about the film at snapemaraudersfilm.com, and go to the Facebook link because we just update every day there on something. I'm doing a feature film after this.
Nice.
That'll be
Very
a
cool.
sci-fi, fantasy-ish romance. Really, really simple. It's not like Lord of the Rings or anything, but it involves concepts of multiverse.
Multiverse.
So that's what's after this.
All right.
You can find me on my official Facebook page. It's just official Mick Ignis. I'm also on Twitter, not too much, mostly on Instagram, where you can just find me at like Mick Ignis, one word. I have 2 other films coming out this year, which I'm completely unrecognizable in, as I'm mostly under prosthetics and crazy creature stuff. So
Fun.
look out for Discarnate and Shortwave that'll be coming out this year. And then because I just had so much fun with Garrett and I screaming in each other's faces,
So fun.
we decided let's do another thing. We scream in each other's faces a lot, and Garrett and I are currently producing and getting ready to perform a play in April.
Okay.
Called The Pillow Man, which is written by Martin McDonough, which is this very, very
Very
dark-
different from
And where
Marauders
can people,
movie.
Where can people find info about that?
Check either of our places or our pages. I'm sure
Okay.
we're going to be posting plenty of it as we continue along.
good.
We've got a lot of work to do on it, but we're really excited to bring this to
And
the
then Garrett?
stage.
You can find me on Twitter at @gschwei. That's GSCHWEI, because my last name's ridiculous. You can find me on Facebook at Garrett Schwackhauser, my full name. Yeah, keep up with what we're doing. I'm doing this play with Mick. We're super excited. It's going to be awesome. Still in the initial stages, but you guys should watch out for the Pillow Man. It's going to be good. I'm actually flying to Virginia tomorrow to shoot a commercial,
Oh,
so that'll be
awesome.
exciting.
And last thing, just a shout out to all the visual effects artists who are working their butts off to finally finish up
Yes.
this thing.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
And the work that you guys are doing are amazing. And without spoiling anything, they're now doing things that we didn't even expect and couldn't even ask for.
No, I didn't plan on it. I just said, do you think you could maybe try this just for fun? And then they do it.
And now they're doing it. We are
Okay.
very,
Wonderful.
very happy.
You guys are the real wizards and witches.
So go check them out on YouTube. You can watch the trailer, the website. You can find me online at Carrie D. Lane under Instagram and Twitter. You've been watching iTalk Movies on the Popcorn Talk Network, and thank you so much for watching.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye.
Yeah, Popcorn Talk.
Popcorn talk.
Popcorn Talk. Oh, this is a great.
From producers Maria Menounos, Kevin Undergaro, Phil Svitek, and the entire Popcorn Talk Network, we would like to thank you for tuning in. For questions or comments, be sure to visit popcorntalk.com. I'm Sir Richard Wentworth, and this has been a presentation of the Popcorn Talk Network.
The views expressed herein are those of the hosts only and do not necessarily reflect the views of the Popcorn Talk Network or its owners or principals.